Welcome back to the second module of our virtual piano lessons. During this lesson, we'll talk more about rhythms and note durations, which will help us start playing some simple melodies later in this video. First, let's quickly review what we learned last lesson. See if you can find C position on your keyboard. I'll give you a couple of seconds. So remember that C's can be found by identifying the white note to the left of a set of two black keys. So here is where the right hand goes, and here is where the left hand goes. Now as a warm-up, we'll repeat the exercise that we did in the last video, where I'll briefly show a pattern of notes, and then we'll slowly play it together twice. Here's the pattern. You can see that we're playing in the treble clef, and we start on our third finger, which plays an E.
Ready, and. And one more time. Ready, and.
Looking at this pattern still, you can see that the notes look like this. But there are many other ways to write notes. The difference between all these types of notes boils down to the duration that the note is played. Before we talk about the different types of note durations, let's take a look again at that exercise we just played. See this symbol? This is called a time signature. It tells you how many notes are in each measure. A measure is each of these individual boxes within the staff, and they are separated by lines called bar lines. So this time signature is called 4/4 or common time. The top number tells us how many beats are in a measure. So here there are 4 beats in each measure. We would count the beats like this. The bottom number tells us what kind of note represents one beat. Don't worry about this too much for now, but the 4 indicates that a quarter note is equal to 1 beat. A quarter note looks like this. Because a quarter note is equal to 1 beat, and there are 4 beats in each measure, we can have up to 4 quarter notes in each measure, like this. Let's play quarter notes on middle C with our right hand thumb. Play along with me and count out loud.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
In addition to quarter notes, we can also have notes called half notes, which look like this. You can see that a half note looks like a quarter note, except its head, which is the circular part, is not colored in. While a quarter note is equivalent to 1 beat, a half note is equivalent to 2 beats. This means that you can have 2 notes per measure in 4/4 time. Here's an example of that. So let's play half notes on G with our left hand first finger. Play along with me and count out loud.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
A final note type we'll talk about today is called a whole note, which looks like this. You can see that a whole note looks like a half note, except it's missing its stem, which is the line that extends from the circular part. While a quarter note is equivalent to 1 beat, and a half note is equivalent to 2 beats, a whole note is equivalent to 4 beats. This means that you can only have 1 whole note per measure in 4/4 time. Here's an example. So let's play whole notes on E with our right hand third finger. Play along with me and count out loud.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So now let's play a few examples using the new types of notes we just learned. When we look at the different patterns that we can create using notes of different lengths, we are looking at a song's rhythm. So let's play through a few examples, paying attention to their rhythms. Before playing each example, I'll count us in by saying 1, 2, ready, and then we'll start playing on the next beat, which corresponds to the first beat of the first measure. I encourage you to count the entire exercise aloud with me. This may be somewhat confusing at first, so we'll continue to play each exercise twice through for now. So here's our first example. We start by playing 4 quarter notes, then 2 half notes, then 4 more quarter notes, and finish with a whole note. Take a second to look it over, and then we'll play it twice, counting out loud the first time through.
1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. 1, 2, ready, and.
And here is the second example. We begin by playing 2 whole notes, then 4 quarter notes, and finish with 2 half notes. Look it over, and then we'll play it twice and count it out loud the first time.
1, 2, ready, and. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. 1, 2, ready, and.
Here's one way to remember each of the notes we just learned. Whole notes take up the whole measure in 4/4 time. Half notes take up half the measure in 4/4 time, and quarter notes take up a quarter of the measure in 4/4 time. But you don't necessarily need to play a note during every single beat. If you don't want a note to be played during a beat, you just need to put something in its place, something called a rest, which we briefly introduced last lesson. Just like notes, there are many different types of rests, all which indicate different durations of rests. Here is a quarter rest. Just like a quarter note, it takes up 1 beat of time in 4/4 time. Let's play an example. We play quarter notes on every first and third beat, while we rest on every second and fourth beat. Take a look at it, then play and count out loud with me.
1, 2, ready, and. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. 1, 2, ready, and.
And this is a half rest. Just like a half note, it takes up 2 beats of time in 4/4 time. Here's an example exercise. Here we play quarter notes on every first and second beat and rest on every third and fourth beat. Let's count and play it twice.
1, 2, ready, and. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, ready, and.
And finally, this is a whole rest. Just like a whole note, it takes up 4 beats of time in 4/4 time. Take a look at this example, then we'll count and play it twice.
1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, ready, and.
A half rest and a whole rest look very similar. Here's a trick to tell the difference. A half rest looks like a hat. You can also tell from the context. For example, if a rest is the only thing in a measure in 4/4 time, it must be a whole rest. So now let's play a slightly longer example that combines everything we've learned so far. Here we have all types of notes and rests, so it will be very important to count this example carefully. We start in the bass clef, then the right hand will take over, then we finish with the left hand again. Take a look at it, and then we'll count and play it twice.
1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. 1, 2, ready, and.
Now, some songs are played quickly, while other songs are played slowly. So how do we know how fast we are supposed to play a song? In music, the specific speed at which you play is called tempo. A song will usually indicate how fast it will be played at the beginning of the piece. Some examples are allegro, which means play quickly, or adagio, which means play slowly. If you come across one of these tempo markings in a song, I encourage you to look up what it means until you become more familiar with them. But for now, we'll just keep playing our songs at a slow to moderate tempo. For our final example this lesson, we'll play a simplified version of a famous tune, Ode to Joy, by Beethoven. We'll start with the right hand and mostly play quarter notes except for the final half note. Then the left hand takes over and again plays mostly quarter notes except for the final half note. Take a minute to look it over, then we'll play it together twice.
1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. 1, 2, ready, and.
Just like in the last module, you can now work through this module's practice exercises, theory worksheet, history lesson, and quiz to get a better understanding of what we learned today. Make sure you check your answers to the theory worksheet, and there are recordings available to check your playing of the practice exercises. If you need more help with understanding rhythms, there are additional resources linked below. After you are comfortable with this material, please join me in the next module. Bye for now.